Hello, everyone. So we do have Berenice with us from the US, and I hope that this is going to be a helpful mentorship session for you. We do have our esteemed guest, Vikalp sir from the GRC department of NICA. He's also working as a senior security engineer there. And yeah, I mean, we could be thousands of miles away, but the domain of cybersecurity, specifically GRC, has united us today. So would love Vikalp sir to introduce himself, and next, Bernice, you can also introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, first of all, Shruti, for the nice introduction about cybersecurity GRC. So I basically look after for the cybersecurity GRC domain at NICA, which is a beauty retail company. It has online and offline schools as well. So I look after for the cybersecurity GRC, where we basically work on the internal audits, external audits, data protection, third-party risk management, and all, let's say, all the standards which we need to comply with, all sort of things. I basically work as a cybersecurity GRC engineer at NICA. So I have around 4 years of working experience in this domain, where we basically work on various projects in the GRC, be it from, as I mentioned, the third-party risk management to data protection to complying the organization with certain, certain frameworks, certain standards, and then. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. So, Berenice, if you can just about small production of yourself.
Thank you. So my name is Berenice. I am from New York, here in the United States. I recently graduated from college. I got my bachelor's in computer information systems with a focus in cybersecurity. And I'm here today because I'm very interested in starting a career in GRC specifically. Especially now that cybersecurity is very necessary now after the CrowdStrike attack or the all of these things that are going on here. I think it's really important to talk about cybersecurity and specifically GRC as it's one of the more up and coming roles. Yeah, and I just have a couple questions like how to start your career in GRC.
Sure. So first of all, when you just wanted a small background about yourself, like what all projects you have maybe performed under cybersecurity and specifically GRC, that will be nice if you have something to talk about. And how did you get started in this security domain? And again, specific GRC, like what was your previous work experiences, projects, all of those things.
So I started with information security. My first internship in college had to be about IT, just looking at the computer, looking at their systems. Afterwards, I worked closely with the security team to look at their different vendors that they use to protect their information. I looked at all of their internal systems. I never really got to do anything hands-on, but I did get to familiarize myself with it. In college, I took a lot of classes. A lot of them were more directly towards IT audit. They all just said cybersecurity, and I didn't really ask any more questions. I learned as much as I could. I learned about network security, but I think the IT audit course really got further into depth and made me kind of shift my career goals. As soon as I worked for the MTA as an intern for a year, and I worked really close with the security analyst. And although I thought I was going to be doing red team, blue team, anything like that, as soon as I got over there, I was paired with the information specialist, where we were in charge of simply looking through their policies, updating the procedures, looking at the documents, making sure that was distributed out to each team. We would have the roundup meetings with the director of the security department. And that's kind of how I began my experience in cybersecurity and GRC specifically. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. Now that I fully graduated, I got to take a couple courses about information policy, audit, risk management. I realized I really enjoy GRC. It's something that I find very interesting, and especially now with like the way the job markets are, I really I guess I'm trying to learn more. I want to explore more and see what kind of more projects, because I guess the projects that I have weren't as hands-on as I was hoping. And I know there's like different life cycles to these things, and I'm like really interested in learning more about GRC.
That's very nice to hear about the projects and these things. I think it seems that you have already done a lot in GRC. But yeah, like to answer your question, so yes, like I feel like after working for 4 years in this particular field, I feel that under GRC, it is very important to understand the overall environment of your organization, like how the processes are being run, that because that's how you will perform sort of risk management activities, right? First of all, you need to understand what are your assets which are there, what are your processes, all of those data flows, architectures. If let's say you are in cloud, or let's say if you are in data center, right? Data center environment, so you need to understand each and everything from that perspective. So yeah, like to start in GRC, I would maybe talk about under, let's say, governance. First of all, you need to be sort of familiar with the certain frameworks under GRC. So there are well-known frameworks like, right, NIST is one of the very well-known framework which is being used by the organizations to ensure the security posture of their organization. Like one is this ISO 27001 standard, PCI DSS, which is specific to the payment. So what I would say that first of all, I think you should be familiar with these frameworks and align. Try to let's say wherever you are working, so try to align your processes and all those things as per the frameworks. Like whatever is there in whatever best practices are mentioned in these frameworks. So it is important that whether we are following those best practices or not, and that's why you can compare yourself as per the industry benchmark, and you can show, you can give the comfort to your leadership as well. Yes, we are following in cybersecurity, we are following these frameworks, and that's how I am sort of measuring my progress of my infosec related projects. So one is the framework that I feel. Second is I think the risk management activities, like from identification of the risk, then assessing that risk basis the criticality. Like you need to basically talk to stakeholders, understand the process, like to get the metrics, like what is the impact, what is the likelihood, then particularly how you are measuring the severity of that risk, like is it high, medium, low, and accordingly you will you need to basically discuss the mitigation plans as well, like how you are treating that risk. Either you accept or mitigate or transfer or avoid. So these are three, four things that you can do with the risk, right? Basis your business requirements and the severity of the risk. So yeah, I think second is maybe you can have more in-depth knowledge of risk management processes which are there. Then next one I feel is about communication is very important. Like when you are in a GRC field, it is very important to understand the risk from a business perspective, right? So because you let's say you are a risk manager of your organization, right? Risk analyst or risk manager, you have a list of risk, but let's say you have to present it to the senior stakeholders, could be CISO or CTO or audit committees, right? So you have to make them understand from a business perspective, business language, right? You cannot be very techno freak type ki, theek hai, let's say if let's say multi-factor authentication is not there, or this this application is public facing which has a lot of customer or any sensitive data, right? So it's somewhere you have to be very very sort of you have to provide the business justification, like what is the risk to my business if I will not mitigate this risk, if I will not put the risk if I will not put the security controls against this risk, what will be the impact to my organization, right? So in that way, I feel it will give them a more sort of information about, more sense about the overall risk that you have into your organization. So yeah, I think communication is, I feel, again, one of the most important aspect when you are in a GRC field. Because that's how you communicate with your internal teams, with your external vendors. Let's say you are doing a third party risk management, you are managing a third party risk management program, right? So how you are communicating to the vendors, how you are providing them, that in your particular application, this is a particular vulnerability and this is the risk against it. So it is very, very important how you are communicating. So yeah, I think third is the communication. Fourth is I feel in terms of skills and certification. So, but before certification, what I always sort of feel like a, like, of course certification is important. It basically gives you that level of knowledge about that particular subject. But it is always important that if you are going for a certification, don't do it for the sake of having it on the resume just to make your resume classic. No, you have to know, like you have to know the background of the certification, like what all is there, and it is important that you should basically implement those best practices and those things which are there in the certification practically into your environment wherever you are working. So yeah, like in terms of certification, there are very well-known certification, like CISA, CIRIS, CGRC is there. So yeah, like these are, I think, the very good certification. But again, as I mentioned, like certifications are there, of course. It is, it is, you can maybe go to the certification, but yeah, having that practical knowledge is again equally important to gain. So yeah, I think to answer your question, these are the three, four things which I feel is important if you are, into a GRC field.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that leads up to my follow-up question. How would you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in GRC, and what resources would you recommend?
So to get updated about the GRC things, I think networking is very important. Like you should, let's say, you should attend the webinars, you should attend the conferences which are there. There are well-known conferences around the world. You should attend them. Like the GRC conferences are also there because it gives you opportunity to meet very well-known professionals, leaders in cybersecurity who has decades of experiences, right? So you got different views from different people. So yeah, I think to get up to date, one is networking is very important. Second is you can maybe pick the frameworks, right? Let's say now I think in India there is last year the DPDP bill got released, right? So I think the people can read about those particular laws, frameworks which are there. Let's say for PCI DSS, they just released their new framework as well. So yeah, I think that's how you can stay updated, like attending the conferences, attending the webinars, subscribing to the newsletters which are there. Uh, just be updated with the news which are there in the GRC field. So yeah, it's like that's how you can be up to date in this field.
I'd like to add one more point to this, being updated with the latest trends. So you can set up Google Alerts with the specific keywords related to the GRC framework. For example, you can make it for risk, NIST. You can make it for HIPAA because that's mostly prevalent in the US. If you're dealing with EU citizens somewhere, you can make up with GDPR. So in that case, you will get a daily reminder, for example, in the evening for the alerts, and you can just check out which news you want to check out. Maybe there's a new updation, maybe some company has been penalized. So it just keeps you updated with that. Maybe you're going to be asked about regarding such an incident on a case scenario kind of example during an interview. I think that helped. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I want to go back to the question of the skills and the certifications that you recommend for someone starting in GRC. My question is a little bit more about credibility. As someone who's starting off, I guess I just have some internship experience, but I'm looking to kind of get some more hands-on, something I can put on my resume. So like I like you said, certifications, they're great, but if I don't know the best of them, like what they do, how they could help the organization, how would you recommend I use online resources to kind of boost my credibility as a GRC analyst?
So, in terms of the practical experiences, let's say if you are wherever you are working, so maybe you can pick one framework, right? One GRC framework and try to, make a scope, let's say, for a particular department that you want to, basically audit them, let's say to your IT department or to your network department, or could be your, cloud infra department. So maybe you can start with a framework and try to basically map out the controls, and then maybe talk to those people, try to understand their processes in terms of the access management, or in terms of the security best practices, or let's say in networking from firewalls rule review, etc. All those things. So maybe you can just try to map the controls which are there in a framework, and then see like where is your organization is standing in terms of those controls, and then try to make a reporting out of it. Then let's say let's say if there are 10 controls or 20 controls mentioned, 20 best practices mentioned in a framework, and out of those your organization is following only 8 to 10, right? So you can maybe provide your senior leadership a report of the risk that you identified, and then tell them that these are the risks if we will not perform any mitigation, if we will not plan any mitigation around these risks. So that's how I think, because then what happens, you will understand the overall infra, you will have a knowledge of the framework, right? You will be able to map out, you will be able to identify the risks which are there, then you will be able to plan out the mitigation strategies, right? So all in all, you will get a lot of knowledge about the overall risk management activity which you will be performing, right? And that's how, I mean, you can mention it. Maybe if let's say you were asking for the resume, so you can mention it that you have, strategize the risk management program of your this particular, function of your organization, right? So yeah, that's how it is. Like the organization does perform cybersecurity some posture assessments of their particular function as per the framework like NIST, right? So they basically make a scope that we will get the security assessment from external or internal audit team, and this will be the scope of my organization. Like these are the functions which will be in the scope, be it IT, be it engineering, be it product, be it human resources, be it legal, right? And these will be my the functions in the scope, and then I will then interview the stakeholders, then talk to them, understand their process, then make audit report with the recommendation and the findings that I found. So yeah, that's how it is. I mean, it gives you a lot of knowledge about the overall risk management, like how particular this thing works. So yeah, like practical knowledge, I always focus on the practical knowledge first. Then parallel, you can go for certification. As I mentioned, like CISA is again a well-known certification for auditors. C-Risk is there, CGRC, CISSP. Again, it's a mix of like overall technical. It's a overall like technical and GRC aspects are included in it. PCI DSS QSA again for a particular auditing the payment systems. So yeah, but it is always important. That's how I, usually when I talk to people when they ask like this similar question. So I always feel that having a practical knowledge is important because
Yeah.
that's how it gives you a overall view, like how whatever is there in the certification, yes, that's how it work in a real world.
Yeah. So I guess my next question is more about like choosing a domain and where to go to specifically for GRC. I know there's like healthcare, there's finance, and then there's so many different other organizations that, focus on different policies. What do you think right now, especially with like GRC, cybersecurity, being so up and coming, would be the place to focus? Like, should I focus in finance? Should I do the healthcare? Like, I know these policies are more focused in one area. With the market, what is your recommendation?
So, like I think whatever I think during your introduction, I think you did mention that you have a work experience around the cybersecurity only, right? Making the policies, documentations, and have understanding about blue team, red team, all of that. So I think what I would recommend, or maybe it's my view, like after getting your introduction. So I think you could choose like there in cybersecurity GRC also there are a lot of domains, right? Like from starting from the third party risk management to data protection. Then we have a DLP. Then we have a sort of vulnerability management. Fraud detection, all of those things. So, like policies, procedures, management, or managing the overall risk management program of your organization, which does include your make like managing the risk registers, exception registers, all of those things. Uh, like having overall knowledge about how the incident management program works. So yeah, I mean that's how you can maybe look at. You can maybe gain knowledge. You can refer to the resources, frameworks which are there. So yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to add some of these. Like if you are like, for example, if I were to choose a specialization and I don't know where to start, still having some general knowledge. I mean, personally, if I do have preference, for example, if you're in New York, you know what's the industry scenario right there. You can check out on
Yeah.
LinkedIn on what are the kind of GRC entry level roles that the companies are needing or offering. So if there are many hospitals that need that, or there is a contractor who like gets the GRC projects, either third party, you can check out what are the number of openings, what are the areas like roles that you can switch into as an entry level professional. And I would say, have a backup also, because if you start learning about one particular framework and sometime you just feel burnout, so you can just pivot right at that moment and you can choose another one. So you do have a backup, you gain some experience, you again network and learn. I'll just beg your pardon because I have to go back to another question that you asked previously regarding practical experiences. So because I'm also a cybersecurity aspirant and I do specialize in cloud security as well as CRC, both appeal to me. So I am currently doing the GRC part as well as part of my personal projects. And one of the things that I would recommend, because I've been getting mentored by YouTubers virtually for a long time. So I have been following Unix guy, and he has this course of GRC mastery that he claims that is starting from scratch, and you don't need to have any technical knowledge in that. Plus, given the fact that each module has an exercise that you have to do that is mapped to a real life situation, and at the end of it, there is also a capstone project. I think that would be a really good investment if you want to have a capstone project as part of your, I don't know, task completed before your first job application or interview. I think that would be nice. There are some other ones as well, but since I personally follow him a lot, I mean, and that's also like within 500 USD. There's also another one like Nicole Anise. There's another this YouTuber. She actually my mentor real life as well because I I do projects under her. Now, her course is a bit expensive, but again, it does cover both SOC as well as GRC part. So you just probably need half of it. So if you
Yeah.
can commit to a particular budget, I think you should just have a budget, just like you create a portfolio for cybersecurity. You have a budget, you have a plan with respect to a time period and the level of I don't know, perfection or professionalism that you want to achieve within a particular time frame, and you can just spend accordingly. Just you apply that into your personal life as well as your professional life as well. Thank you. We can continue,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
So my next question is based on like your experience. What are some common mistakes that new professionals in GRC should avoid?
Uh, on mistakes, I feel maybe I can talk about as I mentioned, like the most important, like one of the most important point is the communication, right? So until unless you will have a proper communication, proper understanding about the risk, like end to end from a business perspective. What is the impact to my business if these things will go wrong? So you have to think at a broader level. So sometimes I feel that people, manages the risk. They are, they have a technical understanding about the risk, but let's say if they need to talk to some non-tech guy from some other non-technical field, so it is sometimes this that will be challenging for that person to communicate, like to communicate to those stakeholders. Let's say if he has to talk to some non-technical senior stakeholders, right, to get their support, but at the same time he or she is facing the challenges to communicate that risk in that particular language where that person wants, right? So in that case, the person on the other side won't be sort of convinced, like what what response they need to provide you, and what sort of support they can provide, until unless they will have a proper understanding about the risk. So I think this this is the I think the mistake that usually people do while they are communicating the risk, while they are making a report. So that's why I think people should understand and think from a business language. Let's say if you are if you are making an audit report with the risk and everything, right? You should make them very, very clear, like as per your business requirements. So yeah, that's how your senior stakeholders will understand and support you in terms of resources, budgeting, all of these things. Uh, Another thing, I think not a mistake. It's like not having a proper about the framework, like how it works is, right? Let's say if they are following a processes in their organization, but they are not measuring it from in some industry well-known framework which are there, as I mentioned, ISO 27001 or NIST, all of that. So until unless they will measure their program, they won't be able to get that picture, right? Okay, where wherever where I'm going, right? Let's say after 6 months or 1 year. So how will I show my management like what progress I am doing? Let's say if I am putting the controls into my systems, into my applications, but I don't know, like is it relevant to the industry framework or no? Whatever industry is doing, whatever industry frameworks are saying in terms of password policies or in terms of authentication controls or in terms of firewalls, vulnerability, but I am doing my own way, I'm doing my own work, but I don't know, like I don't have a criteria to measure my programs progress. So that's not a mistake, but yeah, that's sometimes people not think about, don't think about, like we should measure our program against this framework. So yeah, like these are the common mistakes I would say that people, not just second one is not the mistake, but yeah, like first one is something that I feel that people should think about from a communication standpoint, because and like in GRCs, like a lot of communication needs to be done, like irrespective of your domain, right? Be it data privacy, be it data protection, be it risk management. So it requires a lot of communications, a lot of collaboration with the different departments. So if until unless you don't have that understanding, don't have that sense into your report, so it would be challenging for you actually to get that support from them. So yeah.
Thank you. So I guess my final question is a little bit more like clarification. I know GRC is also, government's risk and compliance, but I know they also work like kind of hand in hand with IT audit. How would you compare those two careers? Are they kind of similar, like the industry that you're working in?
Sorry, like so you are asking like this IT audit and cybersecurity audit, is it same or is it different?
Yeah, like is
That's
a
your question.
GRC and IT audit kind of similar?
Uh, Not similar, because let's say in IT, you have other processes as well, right? Uh, be it including your asset management, like how you are procuring your asset, how you are managing it, what is your reconciliation processes, how's your ticketing management is performed, how you are providing the accesses to people. Let's say if you are creating certain IDs to particular applications, how you are managing it. It's not similar because in security you have several other domains, right? In your third party management, your incident response, your cloud security, right? So we cannot, because of course there are like framework are also different for IT audits and for security audits. Like I think there are ITIL, COBIT, etc., which are there. So yeah, I mean, it's not similar because the processes are only different in terms of the activities which are being performed. Like, like one is asset management I talk about, another could be network management, then server management, how you are, managing what best practices you are following, while you are, giving the accesses or implementing any rules, etc. So yeah, but like in organizations, I usually saw that IT and infosec, like cybersecurity teams work closely, because from a governance perspective and from an operational perspective, they need to collaborate and then implement the things by understanding all the challenges which on a ground level, which usually happens, and the policies which needs to be made. So yeah, uh, it is different. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Those are all the questions that I have for today.
Okay, we are coming to the end of our session actually. So yeah, if we can, we may
Thanks
not
for
have to
having
shift to another recording as well then. So again, some of the, I think some of the skills that's needed these days, it's number one is how to market yourself. And I think it starts with LinkedIn at first. So do
Yeah.
optimize your LinkedIn,
Okay.
and you can get a lot of opportunities if you know just how to market yourself, because most of the times you get skilled professionals, but if you don't market, you are just losing out on opportunities. Even introspecting with respect to strengths that we have. For example, we are all multilinguals, polyglots in our area. So if we can target those sections of the society or those sections of businesses that would really appreciate our multilingual ability, I think that just makes the road easier for us. For example, if you are coming from a Hispanic background, you can definitely work with companies that are related with GRC, but in Spanish-speaking regions. So it just makes your life easier. I think that would be really great. Thank you. I guess it is going to end anytime soon, the meeting. And I hope that you all have enjoyed. And those who will watch, I guess they will enjoy it as well. Thank you, Berenice. Thank you for your time. Vikalp sir,
Thank you
thank you
so
for
much
your
for
time as
having
well.
me.
Means a
Thank
lot.
you so much, Berenice. Thank you so much, Shruti.
We can catch
Thank
up
you.
after a few months, maybe. and
Yeah,
see your
I'll
progress.
definitely reach back out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Bye.
Have a nice day, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.